Welcome to the show!
Legendary rock star Alice Cooper released his 29th studio album today. The 13-song set is called Road, aptly titled for a North Charleston visit with his band when they came to town on their North American tour last May.
Here we are back in North Charleston. The last time that we saw you was before the pandemic. So I have to ask you, performing for a live audience, your bread and butter, what was it like having to quarantine and be away from your adoring fans?
Well, in some ways it feels like that's a million years ago, in other ways not at all. But we came back to tour in late 2021. It was like we didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
So we were okay in that department, and there was lots of other things that as a musician you can get involved with nowadays where there is an audience online. It's different. There's live streams, which a lot of us participated in. So we were still performing one way or another.
Yeah, I saw that. And I've heard, Alice Cooper talking about making new music, and he makes a new album every couple of years. So the one that came out last year, Detroit Stories, there's a new one coming out. Can you tell us more about that, Tommy?
Alice would have to say it, but I just know it's called Road, because I read it in the press. I don't know when it's coming out, but I know we recorded it. When we did it like 2 years ago, right?
It's been a year and a half, close to 2 years ago. That happens often. You record something and then it comes out way down the road. It's like doing a movie, they finish it when they finish it. But we heard a little bit of it. It's sounding great. It's going to be out this year.
Really great.
And it's called Road because it's based on what happens on the road.
I've heard Alice Cooper talk about the persona that he is on stage and how it's so different from his day-to-day life. And so it seems like you two ascribe to a very similar philosophy.
Sure. I mean, you have to be able to separate what you do on stage with what you do in your everyday life. I come home, I like to think that I lead a pretty regular guy life, going to the gym every day, meeting up with friends, just doing those routines. You need a routine. You need a routine when you're out here on the road. We all have our ways of dealing with being out for several weeks at a time.
Yeah, eating healthy.
Yeah.
Try to. I try not to eat at all.
You try not to eat at all.
I'll tell you. Well, yeah, I can't do that.
You can afford a few pounds yourself, Tommy. Come on.
Being the guy that's burning the most calories on stage, we always have a competition about
I just try not to eat, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I only try and eat like one good meal a day. You know what I mean? Like usually in the afternoon.
You're the one that brings the Pop-Tarts on.
I do.
I don't acknowledge the existence.
We all have to have our vice, right? Yeah. Pop-Tarts, I think, is pretty.
Not bad, right?
Now, just switching gears a little bit, I had this conversation. I recently interviewed John Oates, and we were talking about the day and the digital age of music and how things are released. But he said he's not nostalgic for the old days of analog and the way things used to be done. So how has it changed in your career, Glenn? And I want to hear from you too, Tommy, but how do you feel about the way music is released these days?
If you want to refer to it as the digital age, what's amazing is you have the potential to reach everybody, the world. But maybe the downside is so does everybody else. So the market is it's flooded with content, which is why music needs to be free, because people are paying you with their time. The music is considered like the loss leader for our business majors out there listening. Not that I'm a business major, but yeah, your music is what attracts.
He does. He knows a lot of stuff.
It attracts people to what you do, and then the money is made in other avenues.
It's true.
But hopefully the good stuff makes its way through.
The cream rises to the top. And that's why tours are also really important too, right? So that people can come and see the people that they love, that they've been fans, that it gives them something to look forward to.
Absolutely. Live music is booming right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on this, 4 or 5 week run right now. It's packed houses, there's festivals that are happening. It's like everything is back. You saw people couldn't wait to get back to live music.
It's true.
And just live life.
Welcome to the show!
You do keep very busy. So besides Alice Cooper, you also perform with Hollywood Vampires.
Both of us do that.
You do. Yeah. And then you also play with so many other musicians, from Aerosmith to Sarah McLachlan to Doobie Brothers. Who don't you play with?
Well, those are a lot of those events that are charity events where we end up in the house band backing up a lot of these musicians. It's a lot of great, surreal, cool moments. You got to be ready to adapt on the spot. And I'm a music nerd. I grew up reading music in junior high and high school, marching band, orchestra, jazz band, all that. I didn't know that that was a skill that I was going to need for later in life in my career, but I'm so glad that I did that, because you don't have to memorize a bunch of things. You can just show up, you learn what they got, you can chart it out kind of in a shorthand way using musical notation, and you're off and running.
I'm so glad he did that too.
Yeah.
Because it makes my job
He's hired
easier.
me on a lot.
It makes my job a lot easier. Because then I could be like, Glenn, show up, and I know Glenn will know the songs.
Yes, yeah.
I won't have to look back there and be like, really?
Tommy and I have known each other over 30 years actually, and he's been a producer on a lot of different projects and records, and he's called me to do it.
Here's 10 songs, Glenn. Learn them. We're going to cut them tomorrow. No problem. All you got to do is feed him, make sure he sleeps. He's good to go.
That's most drummers.
Road is next. What's after that?
Right now, mid-May, we're on this leg of tour. Tommy and I do both Alice Cooper, and then there's the Hollywood Vampires, which is also Alice, and it's Johnny Depp on guitar and Joe Perry from Aerosmith. That's got a whole European run coming up. I think we come home for about 5 minutes, and then we start up with Alice Cooper, the Alice Cooper Band, out with Motley Crue and Def Leppard on the August shows of their stadium run, which is going to be great. And then there's a month of Alice Cooper with Rob Zombie in the States. Yep. Yeah.
So I was asking about downtime. What downtime?
Right, there's not a lot.
Scratch
Busy
that.
year this year, you know.
That's what we're saying, yeah.
Well, my last question for you two gentlemen. For the up-and-coming rock and rollers out there, rock and roll is obviously here to stay. So what advice do you have for them as they pursue this path in life?
You know what, man? I just look at it this way. If you love something, just keep on doing it. And if you're good at it, don't take no for an answer, and just work hard. Get in there. Get your hands dirty. Get everything in there.
Just being a teacher on and off, whether it's at a music school or individual lessons, I see the younger generation, kids, Gen Z, there is a lot of rock and roll fans. And there are so many kids that are playing these songs from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They want to do that stuff. And someone eventually comes around and has their own twist on an old style, and that's what you do. You cross-pollinate your influences, and you hopefully find a good group of people, and it gives you an identity as a kid. It lets you know who you are to your peers and to yourself, and we see this all the time. There's a lot of fans that come here that are of all ages to our shows.
Even kids that we've known since 14 years old, and they're like 25 now. They're in bands, and it's like, it's
all our fault.
Helped them, inspired them. It is. It's pretty amazing.
Are all their moms calling you off the hook? And
it's actually pretty cool when you see them. It's like
great.
they're all in bands now, you know, and it's great because it's like it means that it's working. You know
well,
what I
you
mean?
both are an inspiration. I want to thank you both so much for chatting with us. It's great to catch up with you, Glenn. Good to see you again.
You too.
Wonderful to meet you, Tommy. Thank you, and safe travels on this tour. And can't wait to see what's next.
Me too.
Welcome to the show.